Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the 1-800-FunkSauce.com show, episode 17. We've come a very long way on this journey so far. I don't know when you started, but you're on 17 now. We're all on 17 now, and that's a lot of stuff that's happened. But what has happened? I'm not sure. I was thinking today about what 1-800-FunkSauce.com is, and I will explain all of that very coherently eventually. If you just keep listening to the show, then everything will be made perfectly clear in time. You just have to, stay with me. Maybe hold on to your patience. You'll continue to need it. I do appreciate you being on episode 17 with me, despite all of the ups and downs and changes and all sorts of things. I'm still trying to do some computer stuff that makes it so this show is regularly in more places where people find podcasts. So I'm waiting on them. All right. So please don't email me about that particular thing at this time. But if you do want to email the show, I'm going to put the email address on the screen and say it out loud also, because a lot of people don't have the screen thing going on. Maybe you're driving a car right now. How's that going for you? The email address is 1-800-FunkSauce, DOTCOM, at gmail.com. And you should not email me while you're driving, but if you are a passenger in a vehicle, or if you're baking something and listening to podcasts in the background, if maybe you're making a pie or a cake and you, for whatever reason, don't want to listen to music, which is to me a lot more organized and has a lot more feeling, and I don't know, I love music. But sometimes you just need something on in the background that's someone speaking about nothing in particular. Maybe they started explaining what 1-800-FunkSauce.com means. You know? I'm having fun, and I hope that you're having fun. And I want to talk about some really important issues and threats that we face in the show right now. Let me take a drink from my beverage, which I still cannot name, but I can tell you that It's delicious and zesty. It's a non-alcoholic beverage. So, I don't have any children. You might have children or be a children, but I have some advice. And I know that this has been brought up in other places at other times, but it's something that I feel relatively strongly about. So I just wanted to bring it up here and really sort of just lay it all on the line, as they say. But if you're a kid, if you're a child, human child, and you want a pet, you have so much love in your tiny little heart that you just can barely handle yourself. You're overflowing with love, and you want to take care of a small or medium-sized living thing because you have it in you. You want to take on a responsibility. You want to give love. And in a lot of cases, if you want a dog or a cat, you kind of want to receive love too. And that's great. But parents and children, if your child wants a pet, probably, dogs and cats I know are very popular, but maybe you don't want to go all the way for a dog. Maybe there isn't trust there that the child will really take on that responsibility fully, and the adults will have more responsibilities on top of those they already have, taking care of their child that is overflowing with love. Right? So there's a lot going on, and I could see wanting to not take the plunge into more responsibility. But there's a lot of things out there that might seem too good to be true, and most of them are. Most everything is a scam, especially if you pay any amount of money for it. And specifically, I wanted to talk about sea monkeys because I feel like it's insulting to children around the world to offer them sea monkeys as a pet, or even as a science experiment, posing as a pet. They're just not. It's all wrong for so many reasons. If you're overflowing with love in your tiny little heart, getting a little paper envelope full of shrimp eggs and dumping it into a container of water is not it. But there's nothing. And in the packaging, you see the sea monkeys. That's like, it's got the bottom half of a mermaid, and then it's got the face of like a chimpanzee because it's a monkey, but it's like a sea monkey. And they have like a civilization. It's like Atlantis. And the marketing is, the marketing is enough to fill a child with so much wonder and joy for those few moments. For those few moments as they're taking their sea monkeys home to actually begin their experiment. And it's not good. It's not good. You have these tiny little shrimp eggs and you put them into water and they might turn into tiny little shrimp that die in like some number of weeks. And at the end of the day, you don't really see anything. You don't really feel anything. This is certainly not a dog replacement, right? A pet rock, I think, for a child, especially if you let them design their own rock, at least that's something that they can interact with on some level. They could potentially take that rock and throw it through the window of a business, which I am not condoning, but that's something that could happen. At least there's something to do with a pet rock, if you're creative enough. Head lice. I think if you want to track down some head lice and get your child head lice, that's probably infinitely more exciting and loving than sea monkeys. Right up there with, squirt some honey on your driveway if you have one and attract some ants. And that is a whole universe of fun compared to a sad little water coffin full of maybe shrimp eggs, maybe tiny little things. And, at least if you want to go for something horrible for a person that wants a pet, go find like a marsh or a swamp or a good pond and get just a ladle in that pond and get a couple ladles full of pond scum and put that in a Ziploc bag. And at least that, I think, would have some color in it, probably, and maybe something interesting to look at, perhaps. That would be light years beyond sea monkeys. There's a really good chance that if you want to roll the dice and try to bridge the gap between a dog and no pet at all with sea monkeys, you're almost definitely at that point raising what they would consider to be a potential school shooter. So, maybe you will have to help take the dog out sometimes, or maybe you will have to help a little bit with the cat food and stuff. But how badly do you not want to get that call in the high school years that the sea monkeys drove your child to murder as many of their classmates as they could? Because that's what they'll do if they're forced to take that tiny little heart and try to pour all that love into that little plastic coffin full of shrimp eggs, bad things are going to happen. Probably, right? I don't know everything. I do know that there's no good in sea monkeys. And beyond that, you say, all right, maybe you do get the dog. Maybe you get a cat too. Just go full Noah's Ark, right? Just load them up with real animals that you can potentially have an actual bond with. And then you think, well, we're getting all these animals anyway. Why not, in addition to that, have a little science experiment and get some sea monkeys? Well, this guy that invented the sea monkeys, you have to understand that he essentially spent multiple decades of his adult life making all of his money from defrauding children via the mail, right? He'd take out advertisements for things that would appeal to children enough to get those children to send him money for things, and he would send them those things. And fortunately for him, he would not have to be around when the disappointment of the child boiled over, right? So he invented things like the X-ray specs, right? You sell the X-ray specs to an unsuspecting child who thinks they're going to be able to see through the shirt of their third grade music teacher, and you just can't. Not only can you not, but they can probably see that you're wearing the X-ray specs and trying them out. So that's a scam product. He invented in quotes there. He sold to children the invisible goldfish, which I believe is right up there with like the can of sunshine. You know, it's just nothing. Just add water to nothing, and then you have water, and he has your money. I don't have the list in front of me of the scam products that this guy sold to children for decades. But sea monkeys and all the sea monkey things are among them. So, is that the business that you want to support and basically take the money that goes toward, potentially entertaining or caring for your child and giving it to this empire that was built around straight up defrauding children for decades and decades? Maybe. I think that guy died, but if you look up the Wikipedia, I'm not making this up, he was involved with some sort of neo-Nazis, the Ku Klux Klan, some not so great groups, right? So maybe if you do just adopt the dog or the kitten or whatever, sea monkeys are not it. Do it for your family and your kid or yourself, whatever. Do it for the classmates who were all tired of the shootings. from the children and the adults and the grandparents, all of the shootings. I think everyone's pretty over it. So if we could just cut it out with the sea monkeys, I think that if we wanted to cancel sea monkeys completely, that would be a step in the right direction. There's a lot more things that probably need to happen, but if we take sea monkeys out of the equation, we get rid of a lot of disappointment and confusion and other things. Other things that don't count to replace a real pet are those goldfish that you win by throwing ping pong balls at the fair. Those are not replacements for pets. Nor is this little fly that's been flying around that I will kill. I will find it and I will kill it. It probably will not be during the show, but it will die. Its family will die. Its bloodline will end today. So if we cancel sea monkeys, what are the mailmen doing out there all the time? There's something going on, I think, with the mail carriers. First of all, they are federal government employees. They are the feds in every way, shape, and form. So, keep that in mind, that the mail carriers are the feds. Also, you go on their website still in late May of 2021, and they're talking about everything will be delayed because of COVID-19. And I think that they're just taking their sweet time and saying that it's because of COVID. Because in what way is COVID slowing down the mail? They're not back there spraying it down. They're not sitting there waving it with a UV wand or anything. They're probably, they might be wearing masks. I don't know. But there's not any extra steps. It should take the same amount of time. Even they've taken out steps in most packages. If you've got that signature required, well, they're not doing that anymore. So if anything, the mail should be faster. But it's slower. And they're the feds. And there's no way to get them to not come. There is a federal agent that comes to your house every day. Takes a look around, make sure there are not any dogs not on leashes or anything like that. They're coming by every day. Is there mail? Did a person send you mail? Probably not. Probably not at all. But did they have some ad for some local grocery store that closed down 25 years ago? You betcha. They gotta have something. They gotta have something to justify coming up to your house as close as they gotta get to get you your mail and putting that flyer or junk or whatever in your mailbox. And I don't mean to accuse the federal government and the mail carriers of spying on the citizens of this country. That's wild. It's impossible. How could the government of the United States of America have any desire to snoop on its own citizens and to use, one of our oldest, most important, arteries of our society, the mail routes, to go door to door every day and just see what's going on. You think they're taking extra long because of COVID? I don't know about that. They're not doing signatures. There's not, these people are not knocking on the door and then waiting for you to come get your box. They stopped doing that 5-10 years ago. Everyone's just been throwing boxes from moving trucks for years. So to say anything about COVID slowing down the mail and delivery is pretty ludicrous. But they all say it. And just like any other company, business, organization, association, club, there's a COVID-19 disclaimer of some kind that's like, hey, we're not going to be quite all there. And anything that we can kind of excuse and no longer do or do kind of poorly or halfway, if we can blame something on COVID-19, we will. So, yeah, of course, the USPS is going to do a little bit of that. But I wonder what else they're doing. I really wonder what else they're doing. And you know what? I wouldn't have gone after the mailmen if they didn't start it with me. But, the other day I was checking my mail. As I do, I check my mail probably once a day. But I don't always take all of the junk mail flyers that are put in the box. I clean those out maybe once every couple of weeks or once things start getting a little bit stuffy in there. And I'm talking by a little bit stuffy, I mean by volume, the box is never more than 30% full of that garbage that they bring me. But the other day I'm going out there and it's probably 7% full of junk mail that I've left in there while I took the meaningful packages that I actually asked to be sent to me. I took inside where I wanted them, and I left the trash where they put it because I didn't want it. But anyway, I go out there, and it's not, like I said, 7%, maybe 6%. It is not full. There's a few pieces of junk mail in there. And one of the pieces of junk mail is folded up. And there's writing on it. And the writing on it says, "Clean out your mailbox." And I could maybe understand this if the mailbox was even close to being so full that new mail couldn't be placed in it, or that there could be any concern that maybe there was a critter in there. I am the son of a mail carrier, and I am somewhat familiar with a few of the concerns that mail carriers might have while on the job. But in no way was my mailbox out of line. And this note says, "Clean out your mailbox," written on my junk mail. Written right on it. So maybe that is why they're having COVID-19 delays, because some order came down from on high and said, due to COVID-19, if someone has a little bit of junk mail in their mailbox, you must handwrite them a nastygram. You must take the time, handwrite them a nastygram, take a photo of it on your government agent device, fax that in to HQ, the PO, post office, headquarters, fax that in, and then keep going on your mail route. So maybe that is why things are taking a little bit longer. But in my mind, I'm pretty sure that messing with my mail is a federal offense. And I don't want to sit here on this podcast and accuse a federal agent of committing a federal offense with my personal property. But someone more bold might go there someday. I do think that it's junk mail, so they probably understood that it's junk mail and I don't care about it being written on, but I feel like to write on my junk mail is to know that I won't care about it being written on because I don't care about it at all. And so you're basically just sitting there getting all nastygram with me saying, you've got to do this thing. I came by here every day and created a chore for you. I'm your lawn growing junk mail grass, and you must come and mow it. If it's junk enough that you feel so bold to write a nastygram on it, maybe you can throw it out yourself, or don't give me that. If it doesn't have my name on it, And if it's not like very much three-dimensional, I don't want it. And yeah, will I clean out my mailbox more often now because I know that I've got an angry federal agent coming to my house every day to keep tabs on my habits? Sure. Sure will. Am I happy about it? No. But what are you going to do? What can you do? Let's talk about milk. That's MILK, milk. Not this. I'll tell you that. This is not milk. Let's talk about some other things that aren't milk. It's turned into a whole different world. When I grew up, we had a choice of what kind of milk we wanted in school. And we could get skim milk, we could get 2%, we could get whole milk, or the crowd favorite, chocolate milk. These are all milks. And now, maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, soy milk was very popular. Everyone was talking about soy milk. And then along came almond milk, other nut milks, cashew milk, coconut milk. All kinds of milks. It's 2021 now. I believe oat milk is quite popular. There's a lima bean milk. Milk. Let me tell you about these milks. Not a one of them is a milk. Where are the nipples? Send me an email. Send me a photo of your almonds. I want to see the boobs on those almonds that you milked. For the almond milk. They're not there. If it didn't come out of a nipple or some kind of an udder at least, some type of boob, if it didn't come out of there, you have got yourself what is most likely a juice. Almond juice. Soy juice. Oat juice. You can't come around here just calling everything milk. There's no nipples on oats. Maybe I'm wrong. Send me an email of the nipples on your oats. And I'm not talking about little bumps. I want to see the nipples on the oats. I don't think they're there. And I'm not knocking oat juice, but I will suggest that you call it what it is. And people might complain that I'm, splitting hairs or being some type of way by saying that all of these things are juices despite being called milks, but no nipple, no milk. Period. End of story. Look up the definition of milk. There's a bunch of ways to get juice. Orange juice. Nobody ever called it orange milk because it wasn't, because there was not a nipple on the oranges, even though they do have that little thing. It is not a nipple. Orange juice, oat juice, almond juice, various nut juices. It is what it is. That emu oil, they don't call it emu milk because it doesn't come out of their nipples. They take the emus and they put them in a blender, and then the oil separates out into a layer that they scrape off and sell people. That's not milk. So at least they call it. You could maybe arguably call that emu juice, But there's all these things saying they're milk that they're not milks. They're juices. When I put myself to bed at night and make sure I'm still functioning as a human being, that is not a milking. It's a juicing, if anything. I do not produce milk. That is something about me. That I have in common with almonds and oats and coconuts, to be honest with you. I know it's tough to wrap your head around the inside of a coconut not being milk. Milk! But, based on every definition of milk that I have cared to look up, it's juice. Juice is the same way that it's grape juice comes out of a grape. Coconut juice comes out of a coconut. There's no milk. There's no nipple. There's no milk. Could you have orangutan milk? Probably. I've seen some nips on those tangs. Could you have pangolin milk? I saw a photo last year that leads me to believe that there might be some milkers on some of those pangolins, so maybe. I'm not a zoologist. But I will tell you about milk, and I appreciate you having this discussion with me about milk. If you want to add to it, if you want me to continue to talk about milk later on, you can send me an email, and maybe I will reply to it here or like this. But if I do it at all, probably it'll be here. I thank you for listening to the 1-800-funksauce.com. Let me just say one more thing. I have been gaslit my entire life by people who try to have conversations about how you talk about tomatoes and they're on your throat about how tomato is not a vegetable. All right? So before you want to come at me about the milk thing and me just saying the truth about how all these things are juices and not milks, remember the tomato thing. Because, yeah, is a tomato technically a fruit and not a vegetable? I believe that is technically correct. But in reality, if you're making a fruit salad, you're not putting tomatoes in that ever. Unless you are. Send me an email if you've been doing that, and send me photos of your family and like a map. I want to know more about your culture. Because that's not it. Tomatoes are perhaps technically a fruit, but we all should know as reasonable people that they go with the vegetables. It is what it is. If I could ask for a side of mixed vegetables and get tomatoes in there, and that should be all right by everyone. And you could say, yeah, well, all these milks are only technically juices, but still considered milks because they are like milks. And I would be all right with that. Even after everything that I've just said about no nipple, no milk, we could work with some compromise where no one ever again corrects anyone for referring to the tomato as a vegetable. But if we want to be just very pure and reasonable about everything, I'm saying these milks aren't milks. They're juices. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Unless you, for whatever reason, truly believed that you were drinking the nectar from the nipple of an almond. In which case, I'm very sorry to have burst your bubble. But, sometimes that's what I'm here for. Sometimes I'm here for other things. I hope that I coherently explained to you everything that you need to know to get you through to the next time that I say things on this show. I thank you for tuning into episode 17, and we will hit you next week with episode 18. And in the meantime, don't email me about tomatoes. But you can email me about milk, nipples, sea monkeys, nipples, oats, and whatever. Thank you